In recent years, I've found that one Mario game in particular gets a bad rap. There's one game that people tend to point to when they say, this is everything Mario shouldn't be. And that game is, of course, New Super Mario Bros. U. Though it was widely praised at its initial release, the game has since slowly become more and more disliked since it came out. Most of these complaints can be chalked up to, it's bland, and to coin a term from Scott the Woz, it's just another Mario game. And yeah, this is true, to various extents. It's very been there, done that, something you'll likely hear me say multiple times through this video. There isn't much in this game that I feel I don't get from any other Mario game, oftentimes in a more exciting way. So today we're taking a look back to the year 2012 at one of Nintendo's most disliked Mario games. New Super Mario Bros. U feels like the most complete of the New Super Mario Bros. Series. It's got a big connected world, HD graphics, tons of side modes, and a DLC in the form of New Super Luigi U. So that's the game I want to focus on. There are other games in the New Super Mario Bros. Franchise, but given how much time I've spent with this game, it feels like the one I can most accurately assess. You see, I skipped the Wii U era entirely, mainly because my mother could not fathom what a Wii U was. I recall asking her if we could save up for the Wii U, and I'm pretty sure she literally said, "Don't we already have a Wii?" Even recently, I visited home and busted out my Wii U. She thought it was just another controller. We are 12 years from the launch of the Wii U, and people still have no idea what this thing is or that it even existed. And I'm not trying to make fun of my mom or anything, I just find that story funny. She reacted in the way that I exactly expected her to, and I just thought it was a funny little relatable story. So needless to say, I missed out on a ton of cool games. I missed out on Mario Kart 8, Wind Waker HD, Nintendo Land, Super Mario 3D World, Twilight Princess HD, and of course, New Super Mario Bros. U. And because of this, I always felt like I kind of missed out on something special within the Nintendo community. If you ask people who were Wii U owners during its peak, most of them expressed enjoying some sense of community. The Wii U's player base was small, and therefore the community was small, which I think brought people together. Don't get me wrong, a lot of bad things happened during this era, like a massive lack of games and lack of any hope for the future, but hey, at least they had a little sense of community going for themselves. I always wanted a Wii U, but by the time I was in high school making my own money, I was happy with my PS4, until my brother took it from me when he moved out, and then my PS3. My interest for Nintendo began to wane. Then the Switch came out, and my love for Nintendo was reignited, and according to my doctors, I have never developed into a sane adult because of that. Regardless, the Switch brought over tons of Wii U games, and one of them being New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. The first 2D Mario game on the Switch was a port of a Wii U game. How fun. I first played New Super Mario Bros. U shortly after the Deluxe Edition released in January of 2019, during my senior year of high school, and I had a ton of fun with the game at the time. I mostly played by myself. I didn't really have friends who were into Mario like I was, and it didn't really appeal to like everybody like Mario Kart did, so when I would plop down to play New Super Mario Bros. U, you can imagine my shock when nobody came to play with me. Like, what do you mean you don't want to play a 10-year-old Mario game that looks generic as hell? You know, it's fun, trust me. But enough beating around the bush. What does New Super Mario Bros. U do right, and what does it do wrong? To return to a point from my previous video, does it fail to grow beyond the likes of the original Mario games, or does it bring something truly unique to the table? We'll start somewhere simple. Presentation. This is the first 2D Mario game in HD. Hell, the first Mario game in HD, and it looks fine. Like, it's serviceable, but it's certainly not what I would have pictured when somebody says Mario in HD. I figured a new 3D Mario game would be the big title to show off the graphic capabilities of the Wii U, but unfortunately, we wouldn't get that game until 2013, and Super Mario 3D World it's a fine game. The locales and themes here aren't anything too special for the most part. We of course start in the grassy lands before moving into some other generic Mario themes, but these almost feel a little too generic. Don't worry though, there's a big difference between the snow world in New Super Mario Bros. Wii and New Super Mario Bros. U. In this game, you enter the world at night this time. Woohoo, wow, it's dark instead of light, even though you can see things just as fine as last time. To be fair, there are actually a couple of really stunning parts of Mario U that tend to stand out thematically. For example, a couple levels in World 7 are more orange themed to depict a sunset, and there's even a Van Gogh inspired level. These levels make me think, wow, why doesn't the rest of the game look like this? Overall, the game just looks like a better version of New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It doesn't have much to say for itself other than that. It lacks an identity. It feels very much been there, done that. And I think that this feeling is only present because there are 3 other 2D Mario games in the exact same style. It almost never changes. Tell me, did you realize you were actually watching New Super Mario Bros. Wii just now? Well, you were. I just emulated it in 1080p. That's it. You're just watching Mario Wii. So many times while playing this game, I felt like the devs wanted to push closer and closer to that creative line, but it seemed as though there was an omnipresent force stopping them from doing so, lest this game be seen as too different from another Mario game. The fans want Mario. Mario is cute. Mario is simple. Mario is fun. That's what matters the most, the fun. Innovating on the story and themes should be pushed aside for the sake of fun. Any creative ideas or ways to innovate be damned. Change is scary and people don't like it when things get hard. However, graphical design isn't the only part of Mario's presentation. Sound design, cinematography, what little there is, and animation all play into the player's experience. Musically, New Super Mario Bros. U does one thing that I really enjoy, otherwise it's all generic, but it does one thing that I really enjoy. The overworld music is the same track that just switches themes as you travel from world to world. When you start your adventure, it's a fairly basic, bubbly, happy Mario theme with a light acoustic guitar, light percussion, and some MIDI woodwind sound instruments. It's very basic, but it plays this melody over and over. As you move from World 1 to World 2, the music continues to play seamlessly into a new desert theme, featuring a sitar-like instrument and some typically used desert-sounding instruments from other Mario games. This is really neat. This applies to all of the worlds. It does get a little old hearing the same melody over and over. However, I think I can forgive it because it helps to bring about this feeling of one big cohesive experience. Speaking of which, in New Super Mario Bros. U, the world map is one singular area. Gone are the days of load times between worlds. Each one is now seamlessly connected to the other. Surprisingly, food acts as a theme throughout the game. You start in Acorn Plains and then travel to Layer Cake Desert. There's a soda jungle, etc., etc. There's a theme here, and it feels very well connected. However, I'd argue they don't push into the food aesthetic enough. This isn't like Sweet Mystery Galaxy from Galaxy 2, where the theme really shines through. It's just subtly here. And I think that I could appreciate it if it felt more intentional, if it were subtle on purpose, but it just doesn't feel that way to me. It feels like the devs wanted to lean harder into the theme, but for whatever reason, were told no. Yet again, I cannot shake this feeling that the devs want so desperately to innovate beyond, that they want to do more and take every inch they are given. Looking back at the previous New Super Mario Bros. Games, it's easy to see why. They've done these same generic themes 3 times in a row, and now they're doing it for a 4th time. This has to be getting old for them. When the first New Super Mario Bros. Game came out in 2006, the art style was refreshing. It was the epitome of Mario in the modern day, and New Super Mario Bros. Wii continued that theme onto home consoles. At this point, I think it would be reasonable for any dev team to say, hey, you know what? Let's branch out and try some other themes, but nope. New Super Mario Bros. 2 and U are just the same stuff with lackluster exceptions here and there. From an artistic perspective, I can understand the logic of wanting to promote the fun and excitement that consumers get when you sprinkle old games with bits of new and interesting things. But when a franchise has done this for the past 3 games for the past 6 years, it doesn't really work anymore. The magic fades, it feels lazy. You can't expect people to get excited about the snow theme being at nighttime when the rest of the game looks generic as hell. Who the hell is gonna go, oh thank god the snow world is at night, I wasn't gonna fucking buy this game until then. The story isn't anything different either. The big twist this time is that Bowser doesn't kidnap Peach, he instead holds her hostage in her own house. What a twist. The story is presented to us in a way that feels very similar to New Super Mario Bros. Wii. That could be said for most of this game, really. It's Super Mario Bros. Wii, but with a twist. And not a particularly clever twist, might I add. I can see what the devs are trying to go for here, but it comes off as been there, done that. The worst part of this is that I can't really blame the game itself. I'd then have to blame all the games in the series for not trying to innovate beyond the basic stories. Again, I get that this is Nintendo's winning formula. I get that it's safer to stick with it. To be fair, the original New Super Mario Bros. Game saw Bowser Jr. as more of a main villain. We fight him at every castle, but by the time we get to New Super Mario Bros. U, we're using Boom Booms and Koopalings, enemies we've fought before. This game feels very much like a marriage of Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, and New Super Mario Bros. A throuple, if you will. It's a marriage that I don't think works too well in the way of innovation or creation of anything unique. I can understand drawing inspiration from these games, but again, that isn't what this feels like. It feels like the team had this cool idea and just couldn't or didn't take it further. The similarities to the past games don't stop at themes though, it's built into the game. Of course, it's part of the Mario franchise. There are going to be similarities. I would be mad if a Mario game didn't feel like a Mario game. However, some of the similarities in the mechanics and the level design just feel overdone and uninspired. As mentioned earlier, Boom Boom is back for the first 6 towers of the game, and it's just Boom Boom again. Same moves as Mario 3. Nothing really changes except he's like bigger in one of the worlds. World 6's second tower and World 7 tower feature different bosses in the towers, thank God, that being Sumo Bro and Kamek respectively. I understand that these games are made for children, but I don't think that that's a valid excuse to not try something different. For example, New Super Mario Bros. On the DS has much more unique boss fights. You'd be hard-pressed to tell me it's not as much of a kid's game as Mario U. I don't follow that line of thinking. Even the original Mario games were kids' games, and they innovated upon each other. I understand nostalgia bait, and I get that it works, but you cannot continually rely on it to sell a game. All of this leads to a game that feels soulless, like it has no identity. It is too shackled by the past to say anything truly, well, new. It fails to move beyond the glory days of Mario 3 and Mario World while being simultaneously tied down by the themes of New Super Mario Bros. What does this game say that other Mario games don't? Is there anything I can get out of this game that I couldn't get out of playing any other New Super Mario Bros. Games? Well, like, I guess Nabbit, but he's only a playable character in the deluxe re-release or in Luigi U. Nabbit is maybe one of the coolest additions to the game, but again, Nabbit doesn't feel like an original idea. Chasing him down on a level doesn't feel all that different from carrying a toad. It's an evolution of the carry this toad to the flag idea from Super Mario Bros. Wii. It's a reason we replay some stages and get a little extra challenge. But again, we've been there, done that. This isn't really anything new. This raises the question I posed in my previous video. Do video games actually need to change? Is change a necessary requirement of a good game? I think the answer here is pretty obvious. No. You don't have to change anything to make good art. In fact, in some art forms, creating the same thing over and over is generally seen as good. Take cooking, for example. Cooking a dish the same way is how people establish and pass down tradition. Changing that up runs the risk of people no longer being a fan of that dish, or may lead to inconsistent experiences among patrons. However, I would be hard-pressed to say that a chef should keep the recipes the same forever. I imagine the chef would get bored after a while, the same way a painter would get bored of painting the same landscape the same way. In gaming, I think a clear example of this is the transition from The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. These two games are wildly different, get it? Breath of the Wild came out just after Skyward Sword did, not counting Link Between Worlds. For a while, 3D Zelda console games had followed a pretty rigid path. Each game, while different thematically and even mechanically, always followed the principle of linear dungeons and obtaining items in those dungeons to progress in that dungeon and in the world at large. By the time we hit Skyward Sword, any semblance of non-linearity is gone. The game has a story to tell and you are going to follow it. A far cry from the motives of the original Zelda game in 1986. Breath of the Wild is a return to that original motive and style. It is clear from how divisive Skyward Sword was that Zelda needed to innovate while, ironically, going back to its roots. Breath of the Wild lets you truly do anything at whatever pace you want. You have a short tutorial section, but after you beat that, you're free to go anywhere at any time. This is innovation. Instead of focusing on a grabbing, rich story with complex dungeons, there's a focus on vibe and exploration. Breath of the Wild wants you to be okay with just existing. It wants you to sit every once in a while and take a breath, to observe the world that you're in. Time has passed. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. Will you beat Ganon? When will Ganon come to full power again? All there is the now. You are here in this moment, observing a world built by a very talented and passionate team. But perhaps that analysis of Breath of the Wild should be saved for a future video. In Mario, you rarely vibe or take time to appreciate the world you're in. The best example of this I can maybe think is like Mario Galaxy. There are moments in Mario Galaxy where the game asks you just to observe and to think. Listen to the music, get a feel for a grand adventure you're on. Some levels are epic, some are slow. Sometimes the orchestra is grand and bursting with rich instrumentation and loud melodies to make you feel like you're having the time of your life, and others are calm, reflective. They ask you to sit for a moment, to feel something. Feel the now. I ask you, was there every time in New Super Mario Bros. U where you went, wow, this is really something special. This is art. This is something to be proud of. I sure didn't. But that's not the point of 2D Mario games. And I'm not saying 2D Mario games should be reflective or deep. Mario Galaxy is an example of a game that is able to capture a wide range of emotions. There are highs, there are lows. 2D Mario games are pretty much just all highs. It's go, go, go at every turn. It is happily, bubbly music in every moment. Even eerie stages like ghost houses don't feel as dangerous as they once did in Super Mario World. And trust me, I've played a lot more Mario World than I have of Mario U. The ghost houses are more eerie in that game, I promise. The point I'm trying to convey here is that Mario U is very static in its themes. I don't feel anything when I play it. However, I have to remind myself that a 10-year-old me was over the moon when I first beat Super Mario Bros. Wii. And that game is equally as derivative as Mario U is, so maybe I'm not the one who is meant to feel something. Children are. I don't pick up Mario games to feel something, I do it to play Mario. And that's the only real ground to judge this game on as an art form. Does it feel like a Mario game? Yes, it does, and it's fantastic. While New Super Mario Bros. U doesn't add anything particularly new to the series, the original New Super Mario Bros. Did radically change up controls in 2D games. Wall jumps, triple jumps, ground pounds, and all meaningfully change how the player is able to approach challenges. It also gives the devs more room to design creative challenges. Speaking of which, another innovation brought to the series is Star Coins. These are neat collectibles that act as a currency in the original New Super Mario Bros. And in New Super Mario Bros. 2. They can be used to unlock secret paths or toad houses to award a player with 1-ups or power-ups. In the console versions of the game, they don't really offer much. New Super Mario Bros. Wii allows you to use them to unlock short movies that you can pull off neat tricks, as well as unlock stages in the Secret World 9. I'm pretty sure in Mario U they are only used for the Secret World Superstar Road. That's it. It's weird to me that the DS games are the only ones to use the full potential of these collectibles. Mario Wii does a decent job at it, allowing for some secret cutscenes and little hints to be unlocked at Peach's Castle, but Mario U just makes them a requirement for the special world. That's it. Regardless, having collectibles is nice. They give players a reason to replay stages and find all the little hidden goodies. Most satisfyingly utilize Mario's moveset. Mario feels fantastic to control in all of these games. By the time we hit Mario U, it feels like the devs have nailed down what it should feel like to control Mario. It just feels good to pull off a triple jump or do a lot of consecutive wall jumps. The levels themselves aren't too challenging for me at this point, and I found a lot of them to be overall forgettable. Nothing stuck out to me like some of the levels did from Mario World or Mario 3, and that's a shame because Super Mario Bros. U shows off a lot of really neat ideas. However, I can't say if it is particularly unique or difficult for me. Perhaps I am too good at a game meant for kids. So if the main story isn't all too memorable for me, what about the extras? Mario U offers quite a bit of content outside the main game, and I think that's an overall positive. Coin Battle is back and it's as fun as ever. Multiple players duke it out to see who can get the most coins. Pretty simple fun. You can play on a multitude of courses from the game, as well as custom coin courses just for this mode. Pretty neat. There are also some single player challenge stages where the players must earn bronze, silver, or gold medals depending on how well they perform on these challenges. Some are time based, some are coin challenges, and some are even special challenges. Boost Rush is new to Mario U. Players can choose from a collection of courses ranging from easy to superstar, and they can play levels where getting coins makes the screen move faster and faster. The goal is to get to the end as fast as possible, but the more coins you get, the more challenging it can be to keep up. These are fun little distractions from the main game, just something to do when your buddies are over and you have nothing better to do with your time. However, none of these little side modes come close to comparing it to one of the greatest parts of Mario U. The part where Mario isn't even in it. Super Luigi U is by far my favorite new Super Mario Bros. Game. Super Luigi U is a remix of the entire game with shorter but much more challenging levels. Players only have 100 seconds to beat each course, meaning you'll be rushing through the game to try to hit the end. This makes obtaining things like star coins and secret exits much more challenging and rewarding because the player is on a time crunch. However, Nintendo didn't just remake every course, they also redid the physics. In Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, players can play as Luigi. Luigi can jump higher than Mario, but he also slips a little more than Mario does, making a playthrough as Luigi challenging but rewarding if one is skilled enough. Nintendo decided that for Luigi U, Luigi's old physics should come back, meaning players now have an increased jump height compared to Mario U, but slip a ton. This is the real challenge. While most players will be used to the physics of New Super Mario Bros., getting the hang of New Super Luigi U is much harder. Luigi is difficult to control here. It's harder to land on smaller platforms. Sometimes you just slide into enemies when you don't mean to. All this is complemented by the difficulty of each stage. Especially towards the later stages, I found it harder and harder to keep going. Some stages get particularly hard, so much so that I didn't even bother with all the star coins. Whatever is in the special world, I don't need to see it, I've had enough. I will say, however, that beating Luigi U feels like something I've earned. It's not something everyone can say they've done. Like how most Mario fans will likely never say they've beat the lost levels, it's just damn difficult. But if you're stubborn enough, you can find where the one-up tricks are possible and get tons of lives fast. A really good mid-game spot I found to frequently fill up my lives is the World 5 Ghost House. There's a hidden Starman power-up and you can use it to get a mad dash toward the end of the level where there are tons of boos. I use them to just get a decent amount of lives. Do this a few times and you'll have a nice reserve of lives for you. This course is the reason I got through Luigi U with no continues. I came damn close to getting a game over a couple times, but those extra lives really helped. If Luigi U is too hard, there are a couple things that you can do to make it easier. The first thing you can do is play as Nabbit. Nabbit is playable here, as well as in Mario U in the Deluxe Edition. Nabbit doesn't take any damage from enemies, however he can't use any power-ups. The only way to die as Nabbit is to fall into a hole or get pushed off screen in an auto-scroller. Playing as Nabbit in the Deluxe Edition at least gives you 100 additional seconds on each stage with both Mario U and Luigi U. When a level is completed as Nabbit, the level on the world map will have a purple color instead of blue, signifying that you're a wuss and you need Nabbit. If you find Nabbit to be a little too easy, then Toadette is a great midpoint. Toadette also adds 100 seconds to each level, however she can use power-ups and still be hurt by enemies. Toadette is only in the Deluxe Edition of the game, and she has her own exclusive power-up, the Super Crown. This allows her to transform into Princess Peach for some godforsaken reason. As Peach, the player can glide and jump just like the Acorn power-up. However, if you fall into a hole, Peach will automatically bounce out once to save you. If you fall into the same hole twice, well, you should have learned your lesson. Toadette really alleviates some of the difficulty of Luigi U. If you're having trouble finding a secret exit on a stage because the timer is just too short, I don't think there's really any shame in using Toadette to get a few extra seconds to find it. Hell, it's less cheating than looking it up on YouTube. Toadette can make for a much more relaxing experience when playing Luigi U, while still allowing you to have all the same challenges in terms of parkour. Now, do I use Toadette in my main playthrough of Luigi U? No. I used her a couple times when playing co-op because the extra time is very much appreciated when you have multiple players. Outside of that, no, I'm insane. I want to be mad at the game. And I got very mad a couple times. In all seriousness, I found the challenge of Luigi U to be refreshing. While the story isn't changed and the world map is the same, there's a ton of charm added to these stages and it has a clear identity. There is a hidden Luigi in every level. Luigi U isn't really like any other Mario game. It knows exactly what it is and it does a damn good job of doing it. In terms of a unique identity, it puts Mario U to shame. While many levels in Mario U felt like filler levels just to get you from point A to point B, levels in Luigi U each feel like finely crafted and tested for optimal amounts of difficulty, fun, and most important of all, more difficulty. Like I said earlier, beating Luigi U was far more satisfying for me than beating Mario U. I can imagine an alternative universe where my mom did actually get me a Wii U and Mario U was the hot game. I imagine Luigi U would have seemed like this foreboding presence, daring me to just try the challenge. I imagine I would have picked it up a few times only to rage quit and never touch it again, so I'm happy I got to experience Luigi U as an adult. By the time I got the game in 2019, my skills as a Mario player had gotten pretty good, so to have a nice kick in the dirt when playing Luigi U was refreshing and allows me to push my skills even further. It is for these reasons that I feel a need to defend New Super Mario Bros. U. As the game has gotten older, I've seen more and more people express that the game isn't good or is downright bad, and I feel that this is an unjustified claim. Nintendo wouldn't make a bad 2D Mario game, it just doesn't exist. However, I can see why Mario U gets a lot of the heat. If Mario U wasn't the fourth game in a bloated series, then I think people would sing its praises a lot louder. To be clear, I'm not saying the game is without fault. It is bland and repetitive. It is unoriginal and lacks a clear identity. Nonetheless, is it still a solid Mario game? Yes, especially with Luigi U there to bring it up. I spent a lot of time in this video saying that it feels like the devs wanted to do more with this game than they got to do, and Luigi U feels like proof of that. To celebrate Luigi, the team just made some of the best and challenging Mario levels to ever exist, and it's great. Where Mario U lacks difficulty, Luigi U is there as a counterpart to make it a complete package. Something I will criticize Super Mario Wonder for in my next video is its lack of difficult challenges. This is one of the few areas where I firmly believe Mario U and Luigi U have it beat. My original thesis for this video was that Mario U is an example of the death of art, where creativity goes to die, when profit transcends the desire to create something interesting and we are left with a hollow husk of a vision that could have been something more. However, as I replayed Luigi U for footage, and as I beat both games for the sake of this essay, I realized there is much more in the way of creativity here than I initially thought. While it lacks a distinct identity, it is, regardless, a cohesive Mario experience, and maybe that's all it was ever meant to be. I think it's important to remember the intention of an art piece when critiquing it or praising it. What did it set out to do? In this case, it was meant to be a simple, standard Mario romp that appealed to the most gamers, to sell a new system. Of course, we know it failed to do so. The Wii U's story is tragic. Although I do think the game is good, there's a reason it took Nintendo 11 years to develop their next 2D Mario. It was clear that something had to change. That era of Nintendo is gone now. New Super Mario Bros. Is a thing of the past, and I think we're all happy for it. Change is good. No matter how frightening it may be, changing is something that we cannot avoid. There was no way Nintendo would keep Mario games the same forever. It was only a matter of time before they switched things up again like they did with Zelda or other 3D Mario games. They've got some crazy talented devs who want to make some really beautiful art. I think the reason people were so sick of New Super Mario Bros. Style is because they know Nintendo is capable of more. As I said, in 2012 when this game came out, everyone looked at the Van Gogh inspired level and thought, why isn't every level like this one? And yeah, that's a fair point. Why isn't every level filled with much creativity and identity? Mario Wonder proves that no matter how crazy or wacky the idea may be, there's a way to fit it into a Mario game. The final video in our trilogy will be about the rebirth of art, how Super Mario Bros. Wonder reimagines Mario down to its core and mechanics. I think it'll be a fun video. If there's one thing I want you to take from this video though, it's that Mario U isn't a bad game. It's just one that didn't get to see its full creative potential, likely because the higher-ups at Nintendo decided that a basic, bland, generic art style is what fits Mario best. We know now that this isn't the case. We've always known that. Mario Galaxy, Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Land, and countless other games stretch the possibilities of themes for Mario games. And that's awesome. I'm happy Nintendo went back to their creative roots with Mario Wonder. However, I think I'll always have a piece of me that feels nostalgic for this admittedly bland and generic era of Mario games. While it may not be the best era of Mario games, it is one that I think many people will remember fondly. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and consider subscribing. I also live stream now, and if that's something you're interested in, consider watching it. I play games, usually with Emily on the couch next to me. It's a fun way for me to interact with you guys in a non-scripted setting. Of course, if you can't watch a live stream, you can consider becoming a member to get access to the full VODs after the streams are done. I will be posting compilations and clips of live streams to the channel though, so if you don't want to shell out a few dollars, you can at least see bits of a stream that you could have enjoyed. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I want to thank you guys for your continued support and the countless subscribers that I keep getting. Don't worry, I'm not going to quit Minecraft videos forever, but I do want to branch out and do more things, so I would appreciate it if you stuck around with me for this journey. Anyways, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye bye!